Hello everyone, welcome to News Charter. The aim of this series is to ensure that the students themselves will acquire all the skills to analyze the newspaper from prelims, mains, and interview perspective so that they do not have to depend on any particular news compilation. The reason being, in the recent times, a lot of changes has happened to UPSC, especially when it comes to the prelims examination. So they expect the student to be a person who will study the newspaper himself, do not depend much on other external resources. So you should also acquire all these skills. So I will explain you what are all the things we should be understanding from the examination point of view from today's newspaper. The first news which we'll be discussing today is Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. So in the recent times, you must also be aware that a lot of news are there when the enforcement directorate is involved in multiple raids, especially in states which are ruled by the opposition parties. Because the enforcement directorate is in news regularly, we should be in a position to know about the enforcement directorate and especially the Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002. Money Laundering Act is one of the most important act, especially when it comes to GS3. Money Laundering Act becomes very, very important. So we should be knowing about it. Why the Money Laundering Act was passed? It was passed because India is a signatory of the 2002 Vienna Convention, which was passed because of the reason to combat the money laundering. Money laundering is not just a problem in India, it is a global problem. So according to the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002, the Enforcement Directorate has the power to confiscate and seize the proceeds of crime when they are related to money laundering. With this particular act, what India is doing is we will enhance the cooperation with all other foreign countries because most of the money laundering, whichever happens, the money doesn't involve only in the Indian market. The money is sent to the outside of the country, so it will increase in cooperation with the other countries also. So these are the basics. Recently, in 2023, there was an amendment to the Money Laundering Act. So what are these amendments is very important for both prelims and mains point of view. The amendment was that the government has made sure some disclosure will be there for the NGOs also. There were a lot of reports by the CBI and the Intelligence Bureau that a lot of NGOs are involved in money laundering. So, according to the recent amendments, disclosure will be done by non-governmental organization also, by financial institutes or banks. So, if any NGO is having any kind of transaction in a bank, that will be given out by the bank. It will be given or it will be told to the government. There was a definition called politically exposed persons. So, a recent amendment has added the definition politically exposed persons. That means individuals who are interested with some kind of public function by a foreign country. A foreign country person who is given with certain role by their own government is called as politically exposed persons. It has also brought in chartered accountants, secretaries, and everyone inside the act, inside the purview of the act, because it is the chartered accountants who are involved mostly in helping out people in money laundering. So they have also been brought in. Inside the financial transactions definition, they have included even money, the client's money, people who are managing the client's money, security, assets, everything has been brought in. So these are the recent amendments you need to know about it. A lot of problems are happening with the National Capital Territory of Delhi. Recently, the government has come up with amendment to National Capital Territory of Delhi also. So we need to know what it is. They have established a certain authority. The name of the authority is National Capital Services Authority. So this authority, who constitute this authority is very important. It is constituted of Chief Minister, Chief Secretary of Delhi, and then Principal Home Secretary of Delhi. So Delhi is not like a normal state. It has a special governance system, which we call as National Capital Territory of Delhi. So here the Lieutenant Governor has more power than any other state. So recently the government has approved this particular authority. This authority will make recommendations to the Lieutenant Governor, but it is not completely binding on the Lieutenant Governor. The Lieutenant Governor can accept the recommendations, or they can even ignore the recommendations. It's up to the Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor will exercise his own discretion is very, very important for your examination. This particular authority authorizes the department secretaries. So department secretaries are usually IAS officers. According to the recent amendment, these department secretaries can directly go to the Lieutenant Governor if they are having any kind of problems, or if they want to discuss anything. Directly they can go instead of going to the ministers. So this gives more power to the Lieutenant Governor. So these are the basic amendments which you should be knowing. This is very important for both of your prelims and mains examination. About Delhi and its special status, everyone should be knowing about. Let's move on to the next one. Something which is extremely important for prelims examination is Bharat Stage. Bharat Stage 6 is emission norm which was given by the government recently. There were already 4 stages. Bharat Stage 1, 2, 3 and 4 were implemented in different time period. Bharat Stage 5 was not implemented at all. Very important for your prelims. It directly went to Bharat Stage 6. The major transformation here is very less sulfur will be emitted by Bharat Stage 6 engines. So whatever new vehicles are coming out, they follow the Bharat Stage 6. What are all the provisions which is carried on by Bharat Stage 6 vehicles is given here in this table. Now, if you have to remember each and everything, I don't think that is required, but certain things are very important, especially when it comes to petrol passenger vehicles. You need to know that the particulate matter limit has been set. Particulate matter is considered to be the highest amount of pollutant, especially for smog. This is a major reason. So this particular point becomes very important. Again, it is more important because in Bharat Stage 4, there was no particular provision. So in Bharat Stage, they have told that it should be less than 4.5 mg per kilometer. That should be the emission, not more than that. So who are all the authorities? They are involved here. Central Pollution Control Board is the authority which will take care of this. It falls under Ministry of Environment. They are the ones who will set the standards. And one more fact for your prelims, the first emission standard was set in the year of 2000. And at that time, it was not known as Bharat Stage, it was known as India 2000. So these are all very, very important for your prelims. You should be knowing about it. Let's move on to the next one. Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. So recently what happened with the final between India and Australia was going on, the present World Cup, the World Cup which ended recently, and some 7 Kashmiri students were watching the match, and when India lost, they started to raise slogans against India. Not completely against India. They started to raise slogans which are pro-Pakistan in nature. In a state like Jammu and Kashmir, when you raise slogans which are pro-Pakistan, it creates a lot of problems. So what the police has done, they have booked them under Section 13 of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Section 13, what does it deal with? It deals with inciting, advocating, and encouraging separatist activities or separatist ideology also. So we have to be very careful in understanding this. This particular fact is important for your mains examination because internal security comes under GS3. Unlawful activity means what? Any action taken by an individual or an association. So here the point individual becomes very important. You do not have to be linked with any terrorist organization. Even if you are an individual, you will be booked under this. According to this, death penalty can be given. Even life imprisonment can be given. It is applicable for both Indian and foreign nationals. Very important point for your prelims examination. In 2004, there was an amendment which added the Terrorist Act to the list of offences. Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill was introduced in 2019. It became the act also. According to this, they can designate individuals also. Earlier, terrorist organizations were there. Terrorist organizations can be booked. Now, even if you are an individual and if you are doing some terrorist activity, you can also be booked and will be considered completely like a proper terrorist. The entire purview of this act comes under the NIA, that is National Investigation Agency. This particular point is very, very important because it is not the police who will take care of this, it is NIA who will take care of that. Maritime India Vision 2030 is important because one thing, India is focusing on developing itself as a proper maritime power. And in the recent times, because of the problems we are having with China, this particular policy is in news regularly. So we need to know a little bit about the basics. What is the reason for this initiative? The major reason for this initiative is to build a lot of ports, not small ports, ports which can act as transshipment hubs. When a port is acting as a transshipment hub, a lot of ships can come and exchange their trade, exchange their goods, and it can develop into a proper shipping industry. So this is a very important point. It focuses on modernization of ports is an important point. Total amount of investment is around 1 lakh to 1,25,000 crore. This detail is not much important, but if you are writing it in your mains, it will be good. It will look good. Two important ports are upcoming. One is Vizhinjam Port in Kerala and then Vadhavan Port in Maharashtra. They are going to be developed as ultra large container and cargo ships handling ports, which is very important for our goods and trade services. Maritime Development Fund has been allocated 25,000 crore fund so that enough amount of fund can be given for investment. Port Regulatory Authority is established. This authority will be managing the new provisions. It will be set under New Indian Ports Act. Eastern Waterways Connectivity Transport Grid project has been started. The aim of this particular project is for regional connectivity. Regional connectivity not between Indian states, it is with other countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and Myanmar, because we share our oceans, we share our rivers with these countries. So it is easy to start a transportation service with them. Riverine Development Fund is allocated. It calls for extending low cost, low term financing for inland vessels. Inland transportation is a very important topic for your mains examination. Rationalization of port charges and then promotion of water transport are mentioned in this policy. So such visions, whenever you are getting in your news, the Maritime India vision or any particular vision or mission by the government is extremely important for prelims as well as mains. Some important points you should be noting from prelims examination perspective. One thing, recently a lot of news are there about climate financing. India keeps complaining, all the developing countries keeps complaining that we are not able to, the developed countries are not able to come up with $100 billion per year by 2020, or even now in 2021, 2022 also, they were not able to collect $100 billion. So it is the United Nations Summit which happened in Copenhagen in 2009, in which it was told that developed countries will provide around $100 billion every year so that we can invest those things in developing countries as a climate adaptation program. So this point is very important. Risk weight is a point which was there in news today. Risk weight is a economy concept. Risk weight is very simple. If a bank has to give loan to people, then in order to give the loan, the bank should have enough amount of capital. Without even having capital, the bank cannot lend to people. So the minimum amount of capital a bank should hold in relation to the risk. Risk means the loan. Whatever loan the bank is giving, that is the risk. So the minimum amount of capital which the bank should hold is called as risk weight. Recently, what has happened? The the RBI has increased the risk weight ratio to 125%. 25% it has increased. Earlier it was 100%. Now it has become 125%. One small scheme was there in news, that is Pradhan Mantri Mahila Kisan Drone Kendra. So this is a very forward-looking scheme by the government in which they will provide drones to women self-help groups. It can be given to the self-help groups because they want the self-help groups to promote agriculture in our villages. And most of the self-help groups are managed by women. So it contributes in women empowerment. So it is important in paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3 also. Totally 15,000 drones will be provided to the self-help groups. This point is important for your prelims examination. This particular scheme can be used by you in your mains examination also. It adds a lot of value. Some important point to note for your mains examination: 2023 is going to be the warmest year on record. This point you can use when you are getting questions on questions from environment perspective. One thing which you can work out a little bit on your own is the electoral bond scheme. What is electoral bond scheme? Because now the election is coming in several states in 2024 again. The national election will be there. So you need to know about the electoral bond scheme and how it is implemented, what are their provisions. And a basic controversy related to the electoral bond scheme is public disclosure of the funding. So when people are funding to the party, publicly it is not disclosed how much fund is given by whom, to which party. So whether we should do it or whether we should have it undisclosed because it talks about the privacy of the people. So these kind of points you need to analyze about. Do a little work about it. If possible, you can comment in the comment section also. Thank you.